You're listening to a Soul One podcast.
It's good to be back to normal, Taylor. This is kind of our first normal week in a while.
Since when did everything kind of fall apart? I'm only kidding. It didn't fall apart. February though, at least. I think you've been gone since February. On your little artist sabbatical. So this is our first
my sabbatical
episode that's like normal. You, me, no special topic, no guest host, just a run of the mill. You had me at Skip It. So I'm excited.
It looks like my last show was February 5th.
Okay.
And then I popped in a couple times for kind of little one-off things. But this is certainly the first normal flow show, we'll say. We'll reviewing a couple movies.
I was going to say, we'll see how rusty we are.
We're cutting each other off.
Well, we used to always do that anyways, so that's kind of run of the mill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing I want to dive right into with you before we kind of go into our movie reviews is as we get back into the swing of things, I thought, I must be out of it and I must be reading something wrong. I just can't believe you're reviewing yet another Dracula movie that is indeed a new movie. I'm so confused and shocked, and you were just explaining this to me off air, what exactly come about here, but it is indeed another Dracula movie. Like, we're getting another one of these.
Yeah, it's it came out. It had its French release in July 2025, but it only really made its North America release in February of this year. So it's one of these it's one of these cusp movies, Mike. This happens every once in a while where the movie was released limitedly, like a limited release in 1 year, and then it has its wide release the year after, a couple months later. This was quite the gap though, to come out in July, and then so I had to wait a while to see this. And yes, it is another Dracula movie. It would have been interesting. It's probably a good thing this movie didn't have to directly compete with Nosferatu in December of 2024. It was December of 2024, right? Because it wasn't.
Yes.
Now,
that's what I'm
Yeah.
seeing. Yeah.
So this was kind of staggered a couple months after, and again, we're only just kind of in North America getting to see it, so it's probably a good thing. But Nosferatu loomed so heavy in our imagination that I feel like now most modern movies, until like the next big kind of gothic vampire movie comes out, like we're going to be comparing everything to Nosferatu.
Well, that's sort of what would naturally happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you would just compare it to Nosferatu, because that's also, I mean, this has been such a long time. I don't think I misspeaking when I say you liked that movie, Borderline. Yeah. You really enjoyed that movie. You love that movie.
One of the best movies of 2024. So
right. So you're naturally going to compare it.
Yeah, and I love vampires, so obviously I wanted to see this. This was kind of being advertised, not kind of, it was being advertised more of a gothic romance, like definitely a romantic movie versus Nosferatu, which was probably a more straight horror. And it looked really lush. I wasn't like super I'm not like really following the careers of all of the actors, but like the cast looked okay. And so this was one of my anticipated movies of 2025, and I was kind of bummed I had to wait till 2026. But yes, I know it seems like it's they didn't even like give it a pretty unique name, just like Dracula. So Mike, do you want me to get into my review, or do you want to
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you can dive right into it.
Yeah.
I think the only piece I was going to add was actually going back to sort of theming our movies together, which is something that we did for a while. Our movies do have the common theme of blood to them. My
Mm.
movie Send Help, which I'm going to review today, also very a bloody tale that kind of
Okay.
has horror to it. But what I wanted to kind of lead you in to your review with is you told me this is the director of Fifth Element
Yes.
who did
Yeah.
this movie, right? So I would argue the director of Fifth Element has a very unique style and approach to not only like acting but visuals. And Fifth Element is a bit of a over the top movie in a lot of ways. And Sam Raimi, who directed my movie, also has very specific styles that you might love or hate depending upon who you are. So it's interesting. I think there's
More
a lot to
connections than we
connect.
thought.
Yes,
So,
yes,
like you
definitely.
alluded to, Mike, this is, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name. This is not a director I follow. Luc Benson, but it's like French. So Luc Besson. How would you say it,
I
Mike?
I've never heard it said Besson, but I thought it was Benson. But you're right, being French,
It would
maybe it
you'd
is
have a
Besson.
little you'd give it a
Yeah,
little you give it a little spin. So he
I've just
did
always heard it said Benson, but maybe it's probably Besson.
us
Now
anglophones.
that you're saying that, yes, exactly.
Um, Besson. He did Leon the Professional, which I think he's probably, maybe I'm wrong, but Leon the Professional is like a huge movie. I personally have never seen it, but cinephiles of a certain age talk a lot of it's heavy in the discourse. Fifth Element again seems to be like a cult
Also big.
classic.
It's like
Yeah,
cult, yeah, like
yeah.
big because it's a cult classic. Yeah.
La Femme Nikita, which I have heard about, but again, I haven't seen. One of his more recent movies is Dogman, which the algorithm is spitting out a lot of clips for me. And I think it's because it also is starring Caleb Laundry Jones, who's in Dracula. And so I think my algorithm knows and is
Right.
feeding me that content. So this movie, the most notable character, or the most, I would say the most notable actors, are Caleb Laundry Jones, who I know him from Get Out. He plays the really horrible brother. Like the
Ah, yes.
He
Okay.
has a very distinctive face. He was in I'm of course I'm gonna like name things that no one watches. Twin Peaks: The Return. He had a cameo in.
Wasn't
Um,
he? Wasn't he also in the Last Exorcism as the brother? Didn't he
Oh,
also? Wasn't he also in that?
that's an I don't know. So I'll read you his Wikipedia, like the, you know how in Wikipedia it says like most
Hmm.
known for.
Yeah.
Banshee and X-Men First Class,
Oh yes. Yep. He was Banshee. Yep.
Jeremy Armitage the brother in Get Out, Jack
Hmm.
Hicks in The Florida Project, which I saw but I do not remember him in that movie. Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Yep. Oh yes. Yep.
He's
He
in
was. He's in that. Yeah.
Antiviral, The Outpost, Niche Ram, Dogman, and then Dracula. So I feel like he's probably more of a character actor, but to me, like he has a very distinctive look. Like there is
Oh yes.
no
Yeah.
no actor working right now that really looks like him, and I
I
find him
I think
quite
character
capable.
actor. Like he's definitely a character actor. He's definitely unique.
Yeah,
But very capable. Everything I've seen him in, he's been solid in. Now he does
very
play a lot
committed.
of creepy characters though. Like that is a very like creepy, a little different. Even Banshee from X-Men was like a little bit of a off the cusp, kind of like different person.
Yeah,
Is that like I don't know what his Dracula was like because Dracula often is smooth and
yeah,
charming and controlled, and I don't know if they leaned that way or more fantastical or
yeah. Okay, so he first thing I'll say is he doesn't have the typical look of a leading man, so I'm not
right.
surprised that he gets typecast as sort of creepy or unusual or like quirky.
Mm-hmm.
His Dracula was supposed to be, so this is the interesting thing. I saw a couple of headlines and I meant to do a little bit of research around this before I came on, but I ran out of time. So I saw some headlines that are Luc Besson wanted to remake Dracula, like go back to quote unquote the roots of Dracula. And then an early review that I read, or again, like saw the headline for, was he must be Luke Benson must be confused because this feels more like a direct remake of Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, which is an adaptation of the Bram Stoker's book, but as far as I know, takes artistic liberties. I've actually never read Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I know like tisk tisk me, but um the sort of the modern definitive vampire movie is Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, and then I would say like Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, and they came out like within a couple years of each other. So those are kind of like
Right.
the touchstone movies. And so I thought it was really interesting that he was like the headline, and again, I didn't read the direct quote, but essentially being like, I'm gonna get back to basics, and like the basics he was referring to are actually artistic choices made by Francis Ford Coppola. So it would be more accurate to say this is a remake or an adaptation of the I think it's 1994, I could be wrong, but like the
Oh, okay.
90s Dracula movie and not actually the
Right.
book. But all that to say, because your original question, like what was the Dracula like? So his Dracula, you can definitely see an homage, or it has a lot, the characterization has a lot in common with Gary Oldman's Dracula. So he's supposed to be suave, very charming, vaguely Eastern European. And there are scenes where he's like old and decrepit like in the original, like in the movie from the 90s, but again, like he plays it with like a gravitas. What I will say that differentiates this character, Caleb's character, is characterization, and I think it's in part because of the direction and the writing. This movie had a lot of humor in it, and he played the character like with humor and like with like a kind of almost like a, not a joy, but like there is like kind of like a smirk or like a wink, I guess you could say, in his characterization. So that's what made the character different. But you're right, like he's creepy in the sense that he's a vampire, but like he's not, I wouldn't say like it was the, on paper you wouldn't think to cast Caleb Laundrie Jones based on his previous roles. Does that make sense?
Right. It does,
he's not,
and it's
like
nice.
Traditionally good looking, like, you know what I mean? Like he isn't like he isn't like a Rob Pattinson vampire. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it's nice to see. I think an actor spread their wings a bit, being given an opportunity, I guess, to do this, but also if you found one, it was effective, or two, he was able to do something different within a role that normally you might look and say, oh, on paper this wouldn't work for you. The question is did it end up working? Because if it did, then yeah, good on the actor. You can also credit direction there of a director's number one responsibility is to get a good performance out of their actors. So if this worked for you, even though this particular actor, even in the things he's been cast in, it's not a typical role for him. So yeah, maybe it was effective. I guess it was it. It's kind of my question.
Yeah, that's a good.
Did he work in that role?
Question.
Yeah,
I think so. I had a lot of problems with this movie, but there also were shining lights. One of the shining lights was Caleb's portrayal as Dracula. And why I say like I don't know who's like who to like credit for the comedic, like, yes, I think like I do want to credit his performance. I think he did bring like a humor and a lightness to the role, and like a, you know, that kind of like a wink, like a wink, so to speak. But I also know from having watched the movie, there's like comedic lines in the script. Like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't
the comedy. Yeah.
Well, I don't see. That's where I would draw the line. Like,
you don't think okay.
Like, I think Caleb did well with the material he was given.
With what he was given. Oh, and,
like he was like he was like funny. Like it's a credit to him that he was funny. But I also like there, like, you know what I mean? Like it what the script was supposed to possess. Like the movie didn't take itself very seriously. I'll put it put it that way. And I think even though I had some problems with the writing and some of the characterization, and I would say even like some of the directing, I think Caleb Caleb's portrayal of Dracula was the one of the best parts of this movie. And
Okay.
I think that is a credit to his acting. I know, having, having not seen Fifth Element and Leon the Professional, I don't know. And you said that Luke Benson has a very developed style.
I think
Um,
so. Yeah.
so I don't want to be like, the direction was horrible, because like, he's a cult director. Like, people do love his movies, but I just like the style of this movie was a little bit. The movie felt weird, but like not in a good way, Mike. Like, it definitely made like
Mm.
stylistic choices. I think in part, so the movie is like more or less faithful to the book, but it does make it takes some creative liberties. And so the writer or the director, let's see who it was written by. Yep, Luke Benson wrote he wrote the script, so he's the one we can
Yeah.
blame. So he like he so the traditional story, there's like three suitors of this one girl, and then I'm blanking on her name. And then the girl is friends with Mina Murray, who's engaged to Jonathan Harker. And so in this movie, he like really rearranged those main characters, and like kind of like collapsed those characters and like moved around the storyline, because I guess to Luke Benson, what he really wanted to the core of the story, I guess, was he really wanted to do the timeless love story between Dracula and Mina. Although in the book, it's not like a mutual love affair, right? But
Mm.
in this movie, it's definitely like a romantic movie, right? Like,
Right.
Dracula's trying to find his lost love in Mina, and like, there isn't a lot of like trying to convince her, if that makes
Right.
sense. Like, it's definitely like a romance movie. So anyways, in that like collapsing of certain characters, rewriting some of the storyline, there's this character named Maria in this movie, who, sorry, is supposed to be Lucy. That was the name I was thinking of.
Mm. Right.
And he gets rid of Lucy. He puts in this character named Maria, who's like who is not like, sorry, is Dracula's like underling, or like she's specifically been created in order to help him find his past love, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's okay. So he's rejigged the story. Okay, fair enough. Whatever. You're allowed to do that, especially when it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's whatever. Like, that wasn't my problem. The characterization of this vampire was like so one-dimensional, and then the acting was just so out there, like so over the top. It just like did not work for me. And so I'm surprised
Mm.
learning that it's Luke Benson, who's like a pretty well-respected actor. Mike, you've seen some of his movies. Are the acting performances like very over the top in his movies?
Well, Fifth Element, yes. I
Okay.
mean, that is part of
Like a
the, I
hyper
guess.
stylized.
Yeah, it's fantastical. It's a fantasy.
Right.
It's over the top, very much done on purpose. Um, I would say yes, that's very much part of what makes his style his style. It's a little out there. So what you're saying to me fits when I think of, the director of Fifth Element did a Dracula movie. What you're describing, I think, is exactly what I would think of.
You're like,
I feel
okay,
like,
fair enough.
that makes sense. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so while watching it definitely felt more like a fairy tale than like a horror movie, if
Mm.
that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, in terms of like
Yeah.
costuming, set design, even like the pacing of the story, it felt more fantastical than like
Right.
spooky, or like scary, or even, I wouldn't even say, like, it's not an atmospheric movie. Like, this is pretty much like the antithesis to Nosferatu. Like,
Right.
these couldn't, like, I was watching this, I'm like, this is Nosferatu for people who liked Wuthering Heights. Emerald
Interesting.
Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights, which like I liked Wuthering Heights, so like I don't mean that as like a slight, but like it definitely felt like style over substance in a lot of ways. And
Mm.
like some of the, like I said, some of the acting choices or directorial choices I just like really couldn't get behind. I also really did not like the portrayal or the characterization of Jonathan Harker. So Mina's initial love interest, I guess you could say, which is like very, I find that media has a hard time portraying Jonathan Harker. Keanu Reeves in the Francis Ford Coppola notoriously played Jonathan Harker, and like to this day people like hate his performance in that movie. So
Right.
I think like it's hard when you're playing like the foil to Dracula. Like you're kind of
Yeah.
set up. It takes a particular actor. I'm trying to think. I think what's his name? Holtz.
Yeah,
Nicholas
Nicholas
Holtz
Holtz.
played him in Nosferatu, or like
Yes.
the version of him, and I think he did quite
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
So yeah, I did not like Jonathan Harker. They also did this really weird thing by, and this is in no vampire lore that I've ever read. There are these weird little CGI gargoyles that were like his little minions doing his
Oh,
business in the castle.
that's fun.
It was a choice, and they're like not scary. It's just like these little, and then there's this scene at the end of the movie. I don't think it's Mike. This is one of those movies where like, who cares if I spoil it? At the end of the movie, like, you know, stuff happens, blah 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 blah, and then like you see all of these like sad, bald, like semi-naked children, like little boys. They're wearing like little loincloths, leave the castle because they've been like freed. And you're like, oh, the little gargoyles were children this whole time. But like
Oh,
no hint of that during the movie. You see the one shot of the children leave the castle at the end, and you're like, okay, how did Dracula enslave all of these children? Why, like, did they
interesting.
not age while they were gargoyles? It's just like, I'm like, that did not work for me. Maybe some people
Okay.
thought that that was like a nice, cute addition. I don't know. It didn't, or also to show like he was morally compromised. I don't know. So that really didn't work for me. Um, Christoph Waltz plays the priest, kind of like the occultist. Probably
Mm.
the closest equivalent would be Van Helsing, but they don't call him
Okay.
Van Helsing in the movie. He's just a
Right.
Bavarian priest who's tasked to his religious order researches Dracula. He's always fun to watch. I find that he is getting typecast now. Even whether he's evil or good, he's just Christoph Waltz now in movies. And like sometimes we'll play it evil and sometimes we'll play it good. He happens to play it good in this, like good as in like not talented, as in like more morally, right? So like he happens to play his usual shtick, but it's morally good in this movie. He has
Right.
he kind of has a sidekick that's a Russian doctor, Dumont, who is supposed to be um Jack, like the doctor Jack in Dracula. Uh they have like kind of a funny chemistry. Like again, there's like a lot of humor in this movie. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. Um I feel like this is, for everything that I liked about the movie, Mike, there was something that I didn't like about the movie. Does that make sense? So like
It
it was kind
does.
of
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to like you, and then you throw
Yeah.
me in these CGI gargoyles that become children at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like it's kind
There
of
was
weird.
enough in the movie that like kept you in it to a degree and kept you thinking, okay, well, I'm like this. I like this. I want to like
Yeah,
you
it's
more.
fine.
Just stop making dumb mistakes. And then something weird happens. You go, oh,
Oh, and we obviously aren't going to spend the whole episode talking about this crazy Dracula movie, but there's also this whole subplot about perfume and how, which is like this is like a new addition that Luc Besson makes to the movie, or to the mythology, I guess you could say. Did you? I never saw this movie, but again, it was really big in the 2000s. I think it's called Perfume, and it's about that serial killer who uses perfume to lure his victims. I think it's like during the Renaissance. Is this?
yeah,
It's like a
not
horror
ringing a
comedy, I
bell.
think.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyways,
not that I can think of.
And I just was like, okay, this is kind of a weird this is definitely a weird subplot. And I think again they were trying to show in other adaptations, Mina is definitely a victim, even though she's like a reincarnation or um in Nosferatu, for instance, how her character, even though she's drawn to Nosferatu, she knows it's like morally wrong. And so there's like that's where the tension is that um his victims are like drawn to him, but like he is evil. So I guess in this movie they wanted to show that like it was a mutual attraction and that like Mina was like a willing player, like a will not because like a willing actor in this drama. And so by being able to say like the perfume didn't work on Mina, she went willingly. But I'm like, you could have done that without this crazy perfume
Right.
plot line. Like there's
Yeah,
other
that's getting a little
ways.
muddy.
There's other ways to like cut out all of that, like because there's this weird perfume montage about how he's using perfume over the ages. And like those scenes, I will admit, are like fun, and that's where you get to see a lot of costuming and like there's the humor comes in, and then it's like modern day for the movie, so like the 1880s, and he's just like, yeah. It's like cut out all of that other stuff, and then you could have just shown us modern Mina falling in love with him in modern time, you know what I mean, and
Right.
make it like an
Right.
actual love story. So I thought there was like okay chemistry between him and Mina. It's Zoe Blue. She's the daughter of Rosanna Arquette.
Okay.
She had a small role in The Bling Ring, but I think she has worked as a fashion stylist. I thought she was fine. They had like okay chemistry. I just, for it being called a love tale or like a romantic fantasy, I didn't feel like there was enough time spent with Dracula and Mina.
Right.
Um so yeah, I don't know. This movie was kind of confusing to me. I saw I mentioned this the I don't know if I mentioned this online with Nicole during one of our recordings or if it was my cousin. And I'm like, oh, on Google it's rated this, and they're like, where are you getting your reviews that you're getting them from Google? So Mike, when you go to Google a movie now, so like, okay, I Googled Dracula love story, and it gives you like the AI summary, whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
then you go to the right side, at least on my internet browser, it will see like
Mm-hmm.
it'll show you watch movie. So like where can you
Yep.
watch it?
Yep.
Because I'm signed into Chrome, AI has already told my browser that I've watched it. So it's clicked already
Yeah.
watched. And then underneath, that's where you start getting some of the data in terms of reviews. So,
Yes. Yeah.
okay.
I get IMDb, Rotten
Yeah.
Tomatoes, Letterbox, Google
Pri-
users. Like, there's a variety of them.
so I've never heard of this Sin Links. 4.5 out of 5. That sounds crazy to me. 6.2 out of 10 by IMDb. Sounds a little bit more manageable. 6.2 on Prime. And then 82% of Google users like this movie. And
Hmm.
that to me is crazy. It's not it wasn't that good. 82% liked this movie. Yeah, I felt like it was kind of messy and not coherent, and the director made really weird stylistic choices. But again, it may be, Mike, that this boils down to I'm just not a Luc Besson guy. Like he's not for me maybe. And that fans of The Fifth Element are going to love this movie. All that to be said, ultimately at the end of the day, to me this is an airplane it, because of that very
Interesting.
reason where I said like for every one thing I liked, there was one thing I didn't like. There was still
Right.
things I liked about the movie. So this is a movie where like, okay, you're looking to kill 2 hours, and you know, I wouldn't rush out by any means to see this movie, but I think there's enough in there that will draw your attention. It also like it's hard to follow Nosferatu. And I know people are going to hate me for that because now I'm reading the discourse. Nosferatu, a lot of people actually don't like Nosferatu. So, anyways, if you hated
Really?
Nosferatu, maybe give
Oh.
this one a try. Maybe you'll like this one more.
Yeah, yeah, I'm surprised. I thought most people did like Nosferatu, but I guess if it's just not
It's
what you're looking
I
for,
don't
that's a specific thing
did you
too.
I don't know what the recent cinema conference was, but recently, like literally within the last week, Mike, there was some
Hmm.
sort of con and
Hmm.
first footage was released. What's the name? Do you know what that was?
Was it? It might have been CinemaCon, but there was
Yes, I think it was CinemaCon.
yeah, that might have been what it was because I know I saw some like stuff about Marvel stuff that was there,
Yeah.
so I think that's what it was.
So
Yeah.
they shared first footage from Werewolf, the
Oh, okay.
Roger Eger's new movie after Nosferatu. And so I'm seeing a lot of discourse being like, can't wait to see this one. Hope he redeems himself. Hated Nosferatu. And
Oh,
it's hard to know like how accurate. We've talked about this before, like the hate comments are like that's what like drives traffic. And I'm sure
yeah.
there for as many hate comment, there was a comment being like this was my favorite Eggers movie. But I was surprised, I guess, because it's been like a year and a half now. People are maybe revisiting that movie and they maybe it's not standing up for them, but a lot of content being like, it was so slow, like so overhyped, so whatever, blah 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 blah. So like if you feel that way about Nosferatu, you love vampire movies, but you thought Nosferatu was like too grim, too depressing, too slow, whatever. Dracula, a love tale. That's the movie for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Give it a
Well, there
try.
you go. Give it a try. So yeah, I'll go right into my movie because very kind of similar in a lot of ways in terms of this is a very stylistic movie. So I reviewed and reviewing Send Help, Sam Raimi's film. Sam Raimi, of course, Evil Dead being kind of like his big series, but also the Spider-Man movies. Has done Oz Great and Powerful, a bunch of other films like that. So pretty well established director. Stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. Dylan O'Brien was the lead in all the Maze Runner movies. Taylor, I don't know if you saw any of those or
I
heard
didn't,
of
but
them, but
he is one of those guys that like even if you haven't seen any of his movies, you'll recognize his face because of the Maze Runner movies. There was a
Yeah,
time where
Maze
I felt
Runner.
like he was everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, and he's done other things since, but he was in this as well. Essentially, this movie is just the two of them. For anyone who doesn't know what it is, that essentially these two people get stuck on an island. Rachel McAdams plays a woman who kind of has been stuck in her job at kind of the mid level for a long time. And because she doesn't really dress well and she just sort of lives at home with her cats and doesn't really have much of a social life, she's really awkward. She doesn't really go far in this particular business that she's in. She gets a new kind of overbearing young boss who's taking over. She doesn't really get her dues, isn't really treated well, and essentially through a really interesting sequence of a plane crash, the two of them end up on an island together. And the vast majority of the movie is just the two of them on this island trying to survive. What's really interesting about this movie is they gave us two extremely unlikable characters to be with on this
They're both
island. You are
horrible.
not, they're both horrible. You're not really rooting for them. You don't really feel for either of them. Maybe
You're
it
just
goes back and
waiting.
forth a little bit.
You're waiting to see how things play out, essentially.
Yeah, and I think you do get a little bit of like, oh, you're sympathetic towards this person, but then you're sympathetic towards this person. They're both a little unhinged. Like she's clearly crazy. Like she's absolutely off her knockers. Like she's just crazy. Dylan O'Brien's character is just a jerk. Like he doesn't
Right.
have any redeeming qualities at all. She's someone who's like, oh, you could see her being quirky to some people, but
Hmm.
she's just not, yeah, she's not all there. And they gave us these two characters who get stuck on this island together who are just, hey, they hate each other, opposite personality types in every way, shape, or form. And they just have to figure out a way to survive. And it's really kind of back and forth. Sometimes a game of cat and mouse. Sometimes they're teaming up. Sometimes they're against each other, and you don't really know where it's going. But you're not really rooting for either of them to survive. And what's interesting about this movie, because it's Sam Raimi, and he really leans into absurd bloodiness. So
Mm.
there's a lot of like really wild dark humor in this movie, especially the plane
Quite
crash I
gory,
was
right?
mentioning. Very gory,
Yeah.
but gore for humor's sake.
Right.
The plane crash sequence is Sam Raimi to a T. It's just like out of Evil Dead. It's absolutely wild, funny, gross, gory, crazy, unbelievable, fantastical. It's all those things. So yeah, there's a lot of like really bloody imagery. There's a lot of things that makes you kind of laugh just because of the absurdity of what you're seeing. I think if you don't like Sam Raimi, you're gonna hate this movie. Like it's
We
not even a love. It's not even like you're gonna feel down the middle about this. You're either gonna love this movie, or you're gonna hate this movie. I really feel that
Our
like
movies
that
have a
about it.
lot in common.
They do. No, they really do. That's what was interesting about
Yeah.
us not even really coordinating this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of blood and gore, very highly stylized. If you don't like this director style, you're not going to like the movie. And they both like actors do really well. Like Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams do well in this over the top role, and they act it very well. And
They're
it's
very
very,
committed, right? That's what I've
very,
heard.
very committed to what they're doing. They clearly trust this director. I wonder what that's like. And it's just one of those things where you just can tell that they're going into this vision. They're playing into it. They're playing into whatever style that Sam Raimi's doing, and they're just going to make it happen. Sam Raimi did not write this either. He doesn't
Hmm.
often write a lot of his movies. He did when he was younger, but he doesn't do it now. Different writers who wrote this, but he really like put his style on this movie without a doubt. It's kind of a return to form almost for him. I would say that for me, I'm not gonna. I don't know. The movie's been out for a while. I don't know if I want to spoil the ending. I do want to say the ending had some things that were not satisfying for me. I thought that they could have done something a little bit different with the ending, though I can understand where they were coming from and what they were doing there. But it wasn't quite a satisfactory ending for me. I've got to give credit where credit's due. The acting's so good. The direction is so interesting. It lagged a little bit at the beginning, but once you got on the island, it just like kept going with all these really who knows where we're going to go next sequences, which was highly entertaining. I actually liked this movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it had its problems, yes, but I kind of got what they were going for and was pretty sucked into it. But I do think, regardless of what I say, and regardless of what rating I give it, if you are not on board for like peak Sam Raimi, like Evil Dead 2, Sam Raimi, that's kind of what you've got to think about. Like these Evil Dead movies that drag him to hell, like all his like wild kind of early movies, then you're not going to like this. Like
Right.
this isn't Sam Raimi who did Doctor Strange. This is Sam Raimi, Spider-Man 3 Sam Raimi.
At a
This is
zany.
like yeah, zaniest, unhinged, just out there. So that's something to kind of keep in mind when going into it. But I'm going to give Send Help a see it. I think it was worth it. I think it's worth watching. I think it was fun. It was visually interesting, and I thought a kind of a return to form for a director who has a really unique style.
Cool. All right. So very even though the movies had a lot of similarities, very different reviews, Mike, in
Different
terms
reviews,
of
yeah. I think yours didn't land for you, whereas mine did. Mine hit the right things at the right time. But again, I think like your movie, like depending upon how you feel, Taylor, for example, I think you actually would like Send Help. But if you really weren't on board for that style, you'd probably give it an airplane it. Well,
oh yeah.
this was just like I guess fun, had its moments, the acting was good, but like not everything landed for me. So
I
I could see that.
Rachel McAdams is a great actress. I don't know a lot of Dylan O'Brien's work, but I think Rachel McAdams is really great.
Yeah. He was
Speaking
good
of,
in this.
you can edit this out if I'm not allowed to plug the theater company that you just directed for. But I saw
Oh,
that
sure.
the fall programming is going to include Evil Dead the musical.
Yes, Lost Baggage is doing Evil Dead the musical, which interesting Queens connection, written by Queens grads
Really?
who actually made the musical. Yes, yeah, they're the ones who got the rights to make the musical. It was workshopped at Queens many years ago, but it was Queens grads who put together Evil Dead. So it's kind of like it's got a Canadian flair to it.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Have you
I
seen the
have
musical? Like, have
no,
you?
I wanted to see it when I
Okay.
was in Vegas, and the girls I were like, we're not spending our, whatever night in Vegas going to get covered in fake blood. I'm like, oh,
Right.
okay, fine.
That's kind of part of the shtick of most productions. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it. There was a small production of it in Kingston many years ago that I saw. The musical's okay. Like
Right.
it's not the best musical ever, but the comedy and kind of flavor of Evil Dead is still there. So it is very funny and dark humor,
Sounds like a
right? Like it's
fun
not.
night.
Yeah,
A fun night out.
that's right. That's right. That is more what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Do you want to ask you have a couple fan questions. I'm looking at the time.
I,
Do you want to ask
I have
one?
a I have a couple fan questions. Actually, I might leave it to next week just
Okay.
because there's one more thing I want to get in here before we go. A post theater show tradition of mine for a long time was to binge catch up on some television
Yes.
after I've done a production. So I just so happened that Euphoria's third season just had its debut
Being
episode very
touted
recently.
being touted, Mike, as a cinematic experience.
I mean, it's something. And then also one of my favorite television shows, For All Mankind, their fifth season had its
Oh,
first episode as well. And Daredevil Born Again had its first two episodes come out. And the return of Scrubs, which is sort of a comedy medical show, had its return as well, all in the past couple of weeks. So
did
I've
you,
actually caught up on most of these, which is really nice.
Mike? Did you also watch the Malcolm in the Middle reboot?
I did. Yes, I wasn't going to include, but I did. I also watched the Malcolm in the Middle four part. Malcolm in the Middle. It was a sort of four parts, and it kind of felt like a movie because it was one
Hmm.
storyline throughout the four parts, and I felt like it was just kind of like a long movie, is what it felt like. And I'm wondering, was it ever a movie to begin with, and then they decided to chop it up because they did also release it together. So I don't know why they did it as episodes versus a movie.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
weird.
they have stats on that, but it kind of felt like a movie. It was one storyline all the way through. And I did watch it. I actually did enjoy it. I wasn't going to not include it because I didn't enjoy it. I just have nothing to say about it
Right.
because
It
it
was
was.
fine.
If you liked Malcolm in the Middle, you would like it. It was fine. I thought it was nice to kind of see them all back together. I thought the storyline was really interesting. Yeah, it was. It was fine.
And the
Um,
sorry, go ahead.
Euphoria. Yeah, well, Euphoria is really interesting.
It's everything. So I didn't watch season 1, didn't watch season 2. We've talked about this before. I'm at an age where I don't really need to watch high schoolers behaving badly. Although there's a time
Yeah.
jump, they're no longer high
Yes.
schoolers.
They're no longer high schoolers. And yeah, I think I'm of the same vein as you. I don't know how I got on Euphoria. I don't know what happened, but I ended up watching, I think, a season of it. And then I'm really
Got
strange. I
sucked
have to
in.
finish things. Yeah, like I'm that type of person. I have to finish things. I will say
And
this
good
first
actors,
episode.
like
Well, they all have
Zendaya.
careers.
Yeah.
They all have massive
So
careers now,
they're doing
and they
something
don't need
right.
this show. Yeah. Well, they don't need the show anymore. And that's
Right.
interesting because I'm wondering how much money they got because none of these people need to be doing this. Like
No.
Zendaya, career. Sydney Sweeney, career. Jacob, whatever his name is, Elordi,
Yeah.
he's in it. He
Yeah.
has a career. I mean, he's
Yeah.
been in a million
Huge.
things. So I don't know really why they came back to do this. Maybe they love the show, or maybe they just appreciate that
I
it
wonder if
started
it
their
was
careers.
contractual. They
Contractual
signed on for how many
could have been.
seasons, and then there was a huge hiatus between season 2 and season 3, and lots of people were, well, there's that horrible story about one of the supporting actors lost her health
It,
insurance
and
because
another supporting actor unfortunately passed away.
yeah.
He died in between kind of filming and stuff. Well, what's interesting is I don't think time jump actually helps the show
Hmm.
because you can. There's a. I get what you mean, and I'm of the same thing. Like I'm at an age where I don't need to see high schoolers with their problems. I think what this show did, what that was interesting was, one, heightened the tension of what they were going to with a little bit of realism as to these
Sure.
problems are real, and two, I think because it was presented almost in a fable fantastical way in a lot of ways, because you're seeing it through the one character's perspective who has a lot of drug problems. So it's
Right.
always wondering how much of it are you seeing is actually real and how much is her heightened kind of state adding to
Right.
this. I don't think that works so much when they're adults, because now, as they're adults, you're thinking, like, why are you behaving like children? Is what's happening. Like, they may have aged up the characters, but they're all still behaving in such a
And no
way
growth.
that's no growth, and it's kind of annoying. And this, yeah, the first episode of the third season, my takeaway was that was really annoying. Like, it just, I felt like not watching it again because it just made me
Are
annoyed.
they releasing episode by week
Weekly,
or
weekly, yeah,
okay.
weekly, yeah. Unlike Malcolm in the Middle, which sort of just dropped them all, as far as I know. Euphoria, For All Mankind, Daredevil Born Again, and Scrubs did it weekly. Um, I just, because of the timing of my show and the past several weeks being the busiest, I'm kind of catching up on all of them. For All Mankind only has 2 or 3 episodes out. I've been enjoying it. Daredevil Born Again, same kind of thing. Scrubs has released all of them now, but they might have done like 2 or 3 at the beginning and
Sure.
then weekly. But Euphoria is just doing one a week. They're
And
just doing that style.
how many episodes of Euphoria are there going to be? Do you know? Is this
I
going to be
I
the
think the
final
seasons are
season?
10. Like, they're 10 episodes, and I
Got
don't
it.
know if this is the final season or not. I don't think they've said that, but I think there are 10 episodes, something like that.
I
Somewhere
know
between
it
the 10 range is kind
I
of
know
what.
I'm asking a lot of questions about Euphoria, but it's because it's dominating the timeline and there's a lot of discourse around it. So that's why I'm curious about, and I'm seeing
Yeah.
so many like stills, and there's like a
Hmm.
controversial drug swallowing scene that I keep
There
getting
is.
stills
Yeah.
of, and I could do
And that
without.
the opening sequence,
Oh,
it's a little much.
pleasant.
Yeah, it's kind of, that's how it sort of opens. That it will be hard for a lot of people to get through. It is kind of what the show's been like, though. Like, these kinds of shocking imagery has been part of what they do. Yeah, I think the show jumped the shark to bring that
Right.
term back into play. I think it's gone a bit too much. Where I don't know quite where they're going with the story, obviously, but I feel like they've by aging them up, you actually lose something of who these characters were and why a bit of their adolescence actually worked for them. Now that they're very much adults, you're just kind of like, well, now I'm just sort of annoyed with you. Like, I'm
Yep.
not
Make better
really
choices.
make better
I
choices, and yeah, and it's just kind of annoying. Yeah.
Again, the discourse I'm seeing online, and it could just be because rage sells, but I'm people are kind of not rage watching, but they're definitely like, they're in it because they've been waiting so long. This is their favorite show, whatever. But a lot of the early feedback that I'm seeing is that like it's it's like almost like they're describing it as like almost like pornographic, like it's like too much. You know what I mean? Like it's like too disgusting. The characters are like being degraded too much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, wasn't that kind of like weren't they doing gross stuff in the other seasons? But I don't
Yeah.
know, having not seen the
Yeah.
show. So I think
Yeah.
people are essentially agreeing with you, Mike, that it's just like it's maybe going like a little bit too extreme
Hmm.
than
Yeah.
people would like.
I,
And then the
I
other
think
thing I
they're pushing it a bit further. Yes, I would
pushing
agree.
the envelope too much, I
Yeah.
guess, is
Yeah.
the and then the other thing I've read, they developed like a special film stock for this season. Did you read
Okay.
this?
I did not.
And that's, they're saying, oh, it's cinematic, like it, they're trying to make it like look beautiful. Let me see if I can uh
I mean,
see.
I think one of the strengths this show has been its overall look. Visually, it is interesting.
Right.
I think that there's a lot of good cinematography. I think there's a lot of good production value. I think the show does have a good look to it overall. So I think that is kind of them pushing that and doing interesting things like that par for the course. I didn't really notice a major difference in watching this episode, I would have thought, oh yeah, this is very much the look and feel of Euphoria. Like it very much feels like a third season and picking up. Yeah.
Here we go. Season 3, and this is from Reddit, from the cinematography page. So take it for what it's worth. I don't have enough time to like confirm this, but season 3 shot on new Kodak motion picture film stock in both 35 millimeter and 65 millimeter. I guess my question is, I'm all for film stock. I do think things filmed on film look nicer. I think also, but maybe like technology has come far enough. We could probably make things look like film in post-production. I don't know. I don't know enough about like the post end of things to comment on that. But my question is it worth it? Like, if you're not showing it in movie theaters and it's like a direct streaming TV, I guess it's being shown on HBO. It just seems strange to me. I'm like, Euphoria is being filmed on film stock, but
Right.
you're saying it's kind of known for its visual.
Yeah, like I don't,
language.
again, if that's a difference or a change, I don't know if I noticed much of a difference,
Right.
but definitely the show itself has very much visual styles and looks to it that, yeah, I could see that happening.
Do you think the show looks good?
Overall, yes, I would
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else?
No, that was it. I just
Right.
wanted to give kind of that quick update, give a couple quick things there. But yeah, I think that we'll do some fan questions next week, which will be fun. But yeah, we're back to our weekly schedule. So yeah, we'll see what movies kind of come up next. And yeah, it's exciting to be back.
In the meantime, go see some movies.
Thank you for listening to You Had Me at Skip It, a Soul One Arts Inc. podcast. This podcast is produced by Mike Shepard and Austin Spinner Summer. It is a project of Soul One Arts Inc. To learn more about Soul One and all the great work that Soul One is doing in the arts community, especially in film, theater, and other performing arts, visit soul1arts.ca. You can contribute to this podcast by visiting soul1arts.ca and going to the podcast tab. You'll find all the information on You Had Me at Skip It and how you can get your questions read on air each week. Thank you again for listening.